Welcome to
Okay.
Ask Your Spirit Guides with
Okay.
Dr. Victoria
Manuel, you
Shaw,
ready to start the
your weekly
intro?
gateway to
And then let me
divine
know. I'll
guidance
count
and
down by
soul
one.
alignment. Each week, intuitive counselor and spiritual teacher Dr. Victoria Shaw connects with spirit to bring through live channeled messages from your personal guides, offering clarity, healing, and support on your journey. Whether you receive a personal reading or simply tune in, know that every episode delivers a powerful energetic transmission meant just for you. We're live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific on SoulSearch TV, streaming online on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our mobile app. Take a deep breath, open your heart, and prepare to receive. This is Ask Your Spirit Guides, and your journey starts now.
Welcome, everyone, to Ask Your Spirit Guides with Dr. Victoria Shaw. My name is Allison, and I am very privileged to stand in for Tangela, founder of SoulSearch and SoulSearch TV, where you can watch replays of this and prior episodes. And be sure to catch Victoria's original series, Living in Alignment. We're so looking forward to another insightful journey this evening with Dr. Shaw, a lifelong intuitive and amazing spiritual guide and counselor, all combined with her doctorate in psychology from Princeton University, giving her and you uniquely delivered messages from your spirit guides. If you've been watching or listening each week, you'll have received many messages from your spirit guides, as they not only speak to you directly, but also through others. The wonderful thing about live readings is that very often we hear additional insights in the stories of others. So take a deep breath, shake loose the day, and get ready to receive. Welcome to episode 10, and welcome, Victoria.
Hi, thank you. Episode 10. I don't see myself. Why don't I see myself? Am I on?
You're on.
All right. I'll just let it go. All
Here we
right.
go.
All good. I want to see all of us. So I usually start off with, it's going to drive me crazy not to see myself. Okay. I'm better now. I'm going to start off with a little bit of download 411 that came from the guides as I was tuning in before I was trying to find the Zoom link and getting all flustered, but I want to tune back into that thread. So I'm going to share a little bit of guidance that came through for everyone today, both on the live and beyond. And then I will tune into our beautiful guests. I see there are many of you today, and we'll see what your guides have to say to you. So I wanted to start to tune in. There's a lot going on in the world right now. It's hard not to feel into the collective, no matter what your perspective is, no matter where you're plugging in, especially if you live in the United States. But there are other places in the world too that are feeling this. There's a lot of energy and there's a lot of things stirred up. And so this message speaks to that, but it also speaks to anywhere in your own life where you're feeling a little bit agitated, a little bit stirred up, a little bit like, there's some dragon out there that you have to wrestle to the ground, and you're tired of the wrestling match. Okay. So if that feels like you in your life, then this one is for you. And what the guides are saying is it's a normal human tendency, right? We've all been trained to try to control life, to try to find that dragon and wrestle it to the ground and make it do what we want it to do so that we feel safe, so that we feel secure, so that we feel supported, so that we feel loved. And oftentimes because we believe that, when we wrestle that dragon to the ground, we're going to feel at peace, we're going to feel good, we're going to feel fulfilled, and we're going to feel joyous. Right. And, sometimes it does work that way. Sometimes life gives us a challenge and we navigate our way through it, oftentimes more from our intuition and higher guidance than the wrestling match. But sometimes it feels like we did a lot of wrestling to get there. And, so when we feel some satisfaction, right? But oftentimes the guides say that desire to control, that desire to fix, that desire to alter, that desire to fight, right, can actually take us away from the flow of our own joy and well-being. Okay? Because everything that we want in this life, right? Everything we want, whether you're trying to get your career, going, or you're trying to, get your son to do what you want him to do, or you're trying to get your government to align with what you think is right and well and good, or whatever your particular thing that you're trying that feels like the obstacle on your path may be. Ooh, and even saying the word obstacle on my path, it makes my energy a little funky. So I'm going to take a couple of seconds and let that go. Right? Everything that we want, when you get down to the core, is because we believe that in having it, in doing it, in accomplishing it, in slaying it, whatever, the way that we perceive it, everything that we do it often because we believe, or almost always because we believe in so doing, we will feel better, right? Sometimes that feeling better is pleasing someone else so they get off our back. Sometimes that feeling better is accomplishing something so we can feel good about ourselves, or more often so that other people will feel good about us, and then we can feel good about ourselves, right? Because we'll get their adulation, right? But oftentimes, or every time, I'm going to tune in and see what the guys have to say. They say go with every time. When we want something, when we go out into the world and try to fix or control some aspect of life, or make life do what we need it to do, or we think we want it to do. We want it to do that because we think it's going to make us feel better, or even that it's going to make us feel good. But the thing is that because of the law of attraction, and also just the way life works itself, which is really the same thing, what we focus on grows. Okay? And moreover, so when you're focusing on fighting that dragon, what you're really doing is focusing on the dragon. You're creating more of that energy. And if you believe that you will succeed and that you can control a certain aspect of life, you may very well get there. But what you may not get in a sustained and powerful way is that underlying sense of well-being that we all crave, right? We all want to feel good. We all want to feel loved. We all want to feel at peace. We all want to feel that inner serenity, right? We all want to be aligned with a deeper sense of purpose, even, right? And all of these things come from listening and allowing and trusting, and not necessarily trying to control. Doesn't mean you can't take action, right? But when our action comes from tapping in first to that deep well of well-being that already exists within you, of finding what's flowing, of allowing yourself to feel good even when you don't, right? That's when soothing comes in. And trusting that life is always working out for you, even if you can't figure out how that is. In finding the joy in the moment, whatever that can be for you, even if everything else isn't working out right? The sunny day, even though you just lost your job, or the little flower growing in the cracks of, the little yard that you're tending to, whatever that is, wherever you can find those little pops of joy, those little pops of peace, those little pops of self-love, those little pops of alignment, right? You're making an investment in your own well-being. And then when you make that investment in your own well-being, you are growing that beautiful inner landscape, that beautiful flow, that beautiful self-love, that beautiful even talking about it just makes me feel so good, from which everything that you want in your life will flow. And you may want different things, as you're really tuning into who and what you really are, which you will be doing when you live in that alignment of feeling into and finding that well-being and soothing yourself when you don't feel so good, giving yourself a ton of self-love. But all things that we experience in the outside world come from within. And when we really know how to tend to our inner world, in our inner sanctum, then the outer stuff just becomes the icing on the cake. It just becomes the icing on the cake. And, we're surprised and delighted by all the beautiful things that flow into our lives, but we're not clinging to them anymore because we know that we are the source of our own well-being. Okay, that's what I got for today. And I'm excited. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then I'm ready for the first reading.
Always timely, Victoria. Thank you so much. Talk about shaking loose the day. Marianne, would you care to join us in the room? Camera on if you'd like. Great, thank you.
Okay, work.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? What would you like guidance on today, Marianne?
The burning question inside of me is what direction to go in learning more about my relationship with food, trying to be
Okay.
the healthiest physical person I can be. And I've done so much, but emotional eating is just like, I
Okay.
don't even know where to go. People give you advice, but it's just not hitting right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to tune into your energy. And is it okay if I work on your energy a little bit?
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to tune into the energy and just say your name, Marianne. Yeah. So my read is that early in your childhood, you learn to some degree to distrust yourself and also distrust food. There are people in your world that I don't think had the most loving relationship with nourishing themselves. Okay. And they didn't have the most loving relationship with their bodies. Does that sound right? Where you came from?
Yeah, yes. My parents, my mom
Yeah.
doesn't eat right. I
Yeah.
mean, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And, I wouldn't say doesn't eat right, because doesn't eat right is a judgment. And there's no need for judgment here. We have
Healthy.
yeah, well, that's a judgment. So bear with me.
Okay.
See if this lands and see if this makes sense. We have so much conditioning in this world that takes us away from our own loving and healing and aligned relationship with our human bodies, right? And nourishment it's one of the coolest things that we get to do in this human world. We get to feed ourselves. I mean, it's kind of cool, that we can nourish ourselves. And that could be such a beautiful, loving experience, right? Where you literally like feed yourself and hold yourself and love yourself and sustain yourself. But oftentimes eating doesn't feel like a loving act at all. It feels like a hurtful or a harmful act, right? And we don't know what to do. And there's all sorts of different conditioning. And we've learned sometimes too not to love ourselves. And when we don't love ourselves, then it's hard to nourish yourself and it's hard to find that. And so what I feel is with you, and I'm going to tune into your energy a little bit more deeply, and then you're going to tell me if it lands. There is just a lot of gosh, I'm just going to go a little bit deeper because I want to get a really clear read. So I'm going to say my little prayer, which I didn't say, which sometimes I need and sometimes I don't. I'm just going to ask the Ministry of Angels to come in. I'm going to surround us both with a bunch of light. It has to be a really clear channel and connect to her highest guides and angels. They're right there. I see them. And ask to release any expectations I have, and ask to let go of and ask to let go of outcomes, and ask this is in service of the greatest good. Yeah. And as I tune into your energy, there's a real like rigidity around this issue. Okay. It's not bad. So please don't feel that I'm judging you at all, but I'm just tuning into your energy. And it just feels a little bit like kind of that stick in the mud. So what I want to do is ask your guys how we can kind of soften that and soften your relationship with food and soften your relationship with eating. And, in my mind, and this comes from being a counselor as well as being a psychic and intuitive and someone who's worked with these issues both personally and professionally throughout my life, I personally have an issue with this idea that emotional eating is bad. If you think about your first experience eating, ideally, and we don't all have that experience. I didn't have that experience, but ideally, if you look at like your cat or your dog, they had it, right? It's suckling at your mom's breast when she's totally relaxed and you're totally relaxed. And that's your first taste of nourishment, right? And it's coupled with this beautiful connection and love and right. But most of us don't get that. Most of us don't get that, I was bottle fed by a very stressed out, mentally unwell parent. I'm not going to look into your situation because I'm imagining your parents, they feel to be still living. So we don't need to share too much about them on the show. But for most people out there, right, nourishment doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel loving. It feels like there's a disconnection. So we go searching for it in all sorts of places. We also live in a society, right, that tells us, on the one hand, don't eat, be a size -2, right? Every model and every clothing thing is every clothing thing that we see, every TV show, it's getting a little bit better, is probably underweight. And yet, in the same magazines or the same things that tell us, to be super skinny, they also tell us, hey, if you eat this food, you're going to have comfort. Right. So it's in our culture to have this tug, this pull between depriving ourselves, but also wanting to naturally seek emotional comfort in food. And if you think about it, food and emotions are like this, right? From the very beginning, they're like this, right? That first relationship. But what do you do on your birthday? You eat birthday cake. What do you do for Christmas? You eat Christmas cookies, right? So so the first step your guides say, and this is definitely from your guides now, because I just felt your energy a little bit so they can get in, is just to forgive yourself. Like emotional eating is part of life. It's part of life. It's not something that you want to stop or you want to crack. It's something that you want to own and work with. Okay. Now the out of control eating, the way that we sometimes feel, and I'm not going to like talk too much because, I don't know how much you want to talk about it in a public setting. But I don't even always think this is the deal. But oftentimes when we deprive ourselves of something that we want, it sets up like a long system of, and again, this was in your family, no one in your family had a good relationship with food. My read is that everyone was sort of over controlled. Okay. You were there, I wasn't, but that's my read, very over controlled. But also kind of like, the word that comes through is disingenuine. So we say one thing, we do something else. Okay. So it was probably very confusing, right? You get one cookie after dessert, but I'm going to sit in the pantry and eat, out of the ice cream, ice cream jar. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so it was very, very confusing, the messages that you got. And it taught you to distrust yourself and also to distrust your appetite and food and what you wanted and what you didn't want. A lot of this was modeled to you. And some of it you picked up consciously and some of it just by osmosis, because we do that. We tap into our parents' energy and we can start to just because that's how we all connect and we survive. Okay. And that's how we learn. Except that, if you were an animal, you would know from your mama cat what to eat and what not to eat, because animals are pretty smart and pretty straightforward when it comes to feeding themselves. But people get a little confused. Okay. And so you had a lot of confusion in your space. Okay. So that's the crux of what's going on. It's that early conditioning and that distrust, but also it didn't feel fair when you were little. The rules didn't feel fair. They didn't feel right. And sometimes I think too, you wanted, food became, I don't feel like you ate a lot when you were a kid, to be honest, but I could be wrong. Like, I feel like it was probably hard for you to eat as a kid, just because I'm looking at the environment that you lived in and the way that the people treated food. It wasn't like a generous eating kind of situation. It was just, they had very particular rules around food. And again, it's like, I'm thinking of someone in my life who, she's still living, so I can't share, but someone in my life who, had a partner that really just loved to eat. And she really was afraid, if I love to eat, I'm going to gain weight. And I always felt like she hated food. Like she hated food because she was afraid of food. You know what I mean? Like, I'm afraid that I want this pudding because this pudding will make me fat. Right. And pudding is one of the beautiful joys of life if you like pudding. And I will tell you that when you learn to allow yourself to want what you want, usually what will happen is you just naturally start to figure out what you really want and start to eat, quote unquote, more healthy, or a better word, I think, is more aligned. Because there are times when the guides will tell me to tell someone to go out and eat cotton candy. Now, nutritionally, cotton candy is sugar and artificial coloring, right? So not something that, but sometimes your body just needs that memory that, like, oh my God, that takes me right back to that time that I was at the circus with my parents and they were so nice and I got to feed peanuts to the elephants. And I'm making this up, and it was such a beautiful memory. And that pink color of that cotton candy, it just reminds me of everything good about childhood. And when you have that, not binge it, but you taste it and you enjoy it, it soothes your soul. Right. And there's really nothing in this world that's categorically bad or wrong for us. It's all about what you believe, what you've learned, what you've been taught. Okay. And then how that lands for you. Okay. And this is from someone who doesn't eat sugar, because my body doesn't love it, but not because I'm afraid of it, just because, as I've become more in tune with what my body wants, cane sugar is just not one of those things right now. Right? So as we learn to listen more, as we learn to let go of the rules, as we learn to let go of the categories about good and bad, right or wrong, soothe ourselves, listen more, and not hold back so much, because there's a lot of holding back and there's a lot of self-recrimination that I see in your space if I'm reading you correctly. So you're not internally kind to yourself about your dietary choices. Okay? And
No,
if I'm reading you correctly, that's the understatement of the millennium. Okay? All right? So as you can start to say, it's okay to want that, sweetie. Everyone wants M&Ms. Right? They're bright, they're colorful, they're crunchy, right? Or whatever it is. I can't get excited about M&Ms because I don't like them, but like most people do. And there was certainly a time when I did, right? When you can, like, everyone gets really excited about this thing, and then you can have that first M&M and you can really enjoy it. You're going to find after a while that you may not crave them at all. Or if you do, they're going to be part of your life in a beautiful way, because they're going to restore to you that bit of yourself that you denied, those little joys that you denied because you didn't think that you were worthy of them, or you didn't think it was safe to do them, or you got all confused about them. And that's what's happening. That's what you're really wanting, that feeling of out of control. And even for you, I think it's just wanting things that you shouldn't have. I think if you took the word shouldn't out of it, you'd be at peace. Okay. Does that make sense so far? I'm going to stop because I'm using psychologist brain a little bit as well as guide brain. And so I want to make sure that that the path I'm walking is the right one.
Yeah, I mean, that helps a bit. It's not like I just, you binge eat. And
Yeah.
like you said about sugar is poison in my body, and it affects everything. And you can be anxious and depressed, and and all of that. But you could do a cycle, and it's like I just don't want. I'm eating the healthy stuff, the good stuff, my proteins, my macros, my greens, I'm doing all of that. It's the other part of me that it's like I just can't get across that finish line of why am I so drawn to it? Why, if I'm sitting or working in front of a computer all day, I hate it in the afternoon. I want to be away from the computer, but I got to keep working. So you grab food, You
You just answered your own question. You just answered your own question right there, my beautiful friend. You're trying to feed yourself. You're trying to sustain yourself. You're trying to give yourself something that you enjoy because you don't want to be where you are. Right? Right. And so, of course, and again, I would say there are no bad foods. Those foods are serving a purpose. Sugar serves a purpose. I don't eschew all sweets. I just don't do well with cane sugar but I wouldn't say that my goal would not be to say cane sugar is poison. I'm never going to have this. That would make the problem worse, especially if you're craving it. Right? It's just simply as I've become more aligned, I don't tend to crave things that my body doesn't enjoy. And when I do, I usually have them. And if I have them and then I don't feel good, then I usually just am very kind to myself, because sometimes we just want things, right? And if eating and feeding yourself becomes a deeper act of self-love, in fact, I think for you, of every aspect of your life, if you could bring a little more self-love, it would change everything. It would change everything. And I would just watch what you tell yourself about yourself and about the things in your life. If you want to work less, see how you can make that happen for yourself. Right? And if for now the candy bar is the thing that makes you happy at the, while you're sitting at the desk and you don't want to be, well, maybe that's the compromise you make for now. Right? Or you find something else that brings you joy. I'm someone who has a lot of dietary restrictions, and one of the things I've learned over the years, and I'm trying to move past that now and see if I can get my body to eat more things again, because I miss them. But one of the things early on, when I had to stop eating certain foods because my body just couldn't tolerate them, there was always something else. There was always something else. I was like, well, if you don't have this, you can find that. So think about that too. Like there's always something else. And so you can, if you are substituting something because you think it's bad, and you're trying to substitute it with something good, it won't fill that need that you want. right? Because part of it is you're frustrated and you're annoyed, and it's a little bit of an act of rebellion too, I think, for you. And I think that, you know, and it's out of that energy of frustration. But you may be able to find things that have the mouth feel, that have like that experience, that are a little bit softer and just feel a little bit better with your body. So
Right.
that might be a more practical, because I know you want like a concrete answer that doesn't involve loving yourself and you know, changing the way that you relate to life, though that's my first choice. But the second, my second choice would be, you know, if there's something that has the mouthfeel of a Snickers bar and the taste of the Snickers bar, and it's really sweet, but maybe it matches the dietary guidelines that you like, you know, a little, not super rigidly, but, you know, like maybe it's more natural caramel, maybe it's coconut sugar, maybe it's whatever is your version of healthier, right? Maybe it's dates, you know, that might be another option to start to treat yourself with things that feel a little more aligned to you, but they still have to feel like a treat.
Right.
Okay. That would be like one temporary solution that I think would be helpful. But you're sitting at your desk and you're eating those things, not because you're bad, not because you lack willpower, but because you're frustrated and it's an act of rebellion. Okay. And so if you can honor that, honor the part of you that the biggest takeaway on this, and this is for anyone, because I know this is a very universal concern. The biggest takeaway is when we have a behavior or something that we wish we didn't have, the first thing we want to do is honor it. Like, because everything's serving a purpose. And especially when it comes to eating, because of course you want the Snickers. Of course you want the M&Ms. Like, of course the little kid, sugar tastes good. And when we can honor, of course you don't want to sit at this computer anymore, sweetie, and you're annoyed, and having a candy bar is going to make you feel better. When we can hear ourselves, when we can honor ourselves, and we can allow that in ourselves. I know you're saying, oh, it's just going to snowball. But really, like, it's.
So I'm thinking, how do you get one little candy bar in your house? You know, you buy a bag of candy and then it's like have some, and then I throw the rest of the bag away. And it's like, don't buy it if you're throwing it away. You know?
Yeah. Again, a lot of this is your conditioning. A lot of this is what you've seen from your family and how they did things. So this is this is probably a longer conversation than we can have here. But what I would say is look into intuitive eating if you haven't done that already. There's some great teachers on that. That would be a really great way of starting to think about things for you. Intuitive eating. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
On my there's many podcasts and things about it. And my podcast and Intuitive Connection, we had someone, I can't remember her name. She was lovely. This was seasons ago, but if you look into intuitive eating, it's a whole approach to eating, which is much more self-loving, and it's not about plotting and trying to control and judging some foods as good or bad. It's really a more loving approach to eating, which I stand behind 100%, because when we come from that place of really wanting to feed ourselves and love ourselves and honor ourselves, you can't go wrong from that place. Eventually, you know, there might be a little bit of compensation at first, you know, but ultimately when we come to that place of feeding ourselves out of love, we cannot go wrong. We cannot go wrong, and everything will right itself. And there really are no bad foods, right? There's times when, like I said, cotton candy is the jam. It's the thing that you need, right? Everything has a context. Okay. So I would invite you to look into intuitive eating. I would invite you to be real gentle with yourself. Obviously, to look systemically at the things in your life that maybe you're wanting to shift, and food is compensating for you're not shifting them, right? Look for substitutes that feel a little more comfortable for you for the foods that, you know, you crave. You know, if it's satisfying, that's fine too. And remember too, that whatever we deny ourselves, right, will become much, 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 much more wanted, because the way that your whole nervous system works is to prevent you from starvation, right? And so when we are like in denial, even if you're eating like enough food, but you're telling yourself like you can't have this, and you want it and you're hungry for it, you're setting up that's why so many people overeat, because you're setting your body up with this incredible scarcity. And it's normal and natural and human responses to want to get the food in really, really, really fast, right? Because it's trying to sustain you. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, I do.
Right. So we always want to, allow ourselves, even if you say, I'll have this in 20 minutes if I still want it, that's even better. Okay. But I think going down the route of intuitive eating would help you tremendously. And I just think it's more than a 10-minute conversation, but I hope we got it started, and I'm sending you so much love.
Thank
And
you.
your guides are sending you so much love, and they say that you got this. And they do say, a lot of frustrations with the job, other things too, but a lot of frustrations with the job, they say. And a lot of what triggers it is the feeling of resentment. Okay. So if you can find the choicefulness in your life, like, I'm choosing this job right now because if you are, it's real hard for you to find it in that particular context. But
Right.
finding the choicefulness will really, I think, help a lot, right?
Thank
With
you.
that resentment. Mwah, sending you
Okay.
so much love.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Marianne. Thank you. Thank you. Becky, would you like to come on camera and let's get you off of mute? Let's see where we go.
Okay. Hi.
There we go.
I'm actually not sure. I've been trying to think in regards to
Aw.
all of this, in regards to, I'm not sure what to bring to the table to ask. I'm at various places in my journey, with, multiple things with healing, and just trying to get myself on a better spiritual path.
I don't need anything else.
Okay.
Just your guides are like right there. I'll ask you some more follow-up questions after, but it feels like you'd like a nice connection with your spirit guides. Does that feel good?
Yes.
Yeah, it feels like you have a group of guides. It's funny because you have this, I mean, I'm just meeting you and seeing you, but you have like a very kind of playful, this is going to sound weird because you don't, but they're like a motorcycle gang kind of guides, not in a bad way, but like, does that resonate with you? You're laughing. So
From my
in like,
somebody from my past, so.
yeah, in a really good way, not in like a bad way, but in just a fun way. Like, I hear them like kind of revving their engines, and there's a lot of them, and they're like, I hope I can say this on the show, but they're like, we're kick-ass guides. But
Right.
like in a really good way. It represents freedom to you, it represents fun to you, it represents empowerment to you. And it represents too a little bit of, I don't have to do things everybody else's way anymore, because I think you're kind of a reformed people pleaser a little bit. And like, I think you're really coming into your own now and saying like, wait, what I want matters. Who I want to be is important. Like,
Yes.
I deserve people around me that love my quirky nature. Like,
Correct.
that's how I want to live my life. And these guides are here to help you with that. And again, they're so cute. They're like, I see them like, you know, like, let's go. They want to help you with your career. They want to help you with your work and pretty much all aspects of life. But the biggest thing I'm getting from this soul group of energy that's coming to support you right now, which they want me to call them the biker gang. You know, I get what I get. So
Right.
again, and how they present to us is in the way that we need to receive them. Right. So that could change. I don't know if they're necessarily like riding their motorcycles on the other side, but that's how they're presenting to you. They're very wise, and they're showing me too, like kind of energy codes. Like, they're like showing me their tattoos, and like in their tattoos, there's like, writing, you know, it's not human writing. So they're also bringing you, so they're showing me they're of another realm. Okay. And that they're bringing you they're reconnecting you with a lot of energy codes, and they're kind of in some ways your soul tribe, but they're telling me the human part of you one of the things that you're fundamentally here to learn is the word that comes through is authenticity, though that's not my favorite word, but it's around being true to yourself, being
Okay.
fearlessly, completely, shamelessly, vocally, true to yourself and letting that freak flag fly. Does that resonate?
Very much so. And
Yeah.
I think a very big thing is you had mentioned self-love. It's getting to that point of, I've been pretty good about stopping the people pleasing and, getting on a better balance with that drastically. My thing is just working enough within my own self for, digging in deep for that self-love.
Yeah. Yeah. They say that you're doing very well with that. They're here with you. They're definitely here for fun. Fun. It's not, you can do work if you want, but they're more about like, get on the motorcycle and ride, right? Do the things that make you feel free. Trust yourself more, right? Trust in your power. They say, trust in your agency, trust in your instincts. Cause you don't often, you've had a lot of conditioning that said you screw things up.
Yes.
But you don't. Like the thing is, you don't. That's other people telling you that you're not doing what they want you to do. But if you look at the evidence across your life, like there's not many things that you've screwed up. And the things that haven't gone well for you, they say the only reason that you believe you screwed them up, because if someone else looked at them, they wouldn't point the finger at you.
Okay.
Some people would. The ones that want to point the finger at you will point the finger at you, but somebody who's outside of the situation would just be like, oh, that's an honest mistake. Oh, that was a bad situation. Oh, do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But you've learned to blame yourself. And because of that, I think you attract situations that, sometimes do make it look like you screwed up, but you didn't.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, very much so, because
Yeah.
there's been recent instances to where I have a handful of people who basically are saying the same thing, to where, you weren't the one wrong in this situation. It was
Yes.
a collective situation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And
Yeah.
again, look, and this is for everyone out there, you can glaze over this part if you want. It's not a matter of who's right and wrong. At the end of the day, you have your perspective, they have their perspective, right? It's about releasing the shame and being like, you can have your perspective, but I don't agree with it. It's not charitable to me and it's not fun to play with. I'm walking away.
Right.
Right. And you're very close to that. So I don't even think you need that. And sometimes we have to let the other person be wrong for a few minutes so that we can regain our perspective. We can be like, no, that didn't feel right to me. That was not okay. Right. And that's what you're learning to do.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense? And again, you've had a lot of conditioning too. Like you got into these series of situations because I feel like from early on, you just had a lot of people in your life that putting you down and kind of saying things were your fault that had nothing to do with you. Like sometimes you didn't even make a mistake or everything was going well and someone still said, look, you messed up. It's
Right.
just, it's been displeasing other people,
Right.
and you've had people in your life that if you displease them, they tell you that you suck.
Right. And it's
Right.
because it's, that's what leads to the constant people pleasing is, well, if I do this or if I do that, or,
Right. And the guys say, how's that going for you?
not well.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually, I feel like, that's where I currently am, is I've gotten a lot better in regards to that, to where it's just
Yeah.
like, not just saying no, but just taking a step back away from the various situations and just realizing that I'm not needed in this situation. There are other people that can be taking care of this.
Amen. And they just keep showing me like you get on the motorcycle and you ride and you go where you want to go. You don't stick on the shoulder and go really slow and wait for somebody else because you don't want to get in trouble. You don't want them to yell at you and you don't want them to call you and say you have to come home now because you're having too much fun. Not that. You
Right.
say, you do you. you live small or you live how you want to live, but I can't participate in this anymore because I need to be who I am.
Right.
Does that
Yes,
make sense?
Yes,
And
100%.
and your guides say you're just not someone who's going to get yourself into trouble. You're really wise. But you know, other people might not like what you're doing, the ones that aren't aligned with you, but you know what I mean? You're not like a dangerous risk taker or anything like that. You're very balanced and very grounded, but you just need to have fun, to just and do what you want to do, and just do it shamelessly is what they say. Okay. And then you will attract more and more people that are going to align with your perspective and your point of view. And the hardest thing, and I did an episode on the podcast with one of my teachers, what she said blew my mind. The question was around, we were discussing spiritual awakening, and we were talking a little bit about what can hold that back. And what she said, and I never thought of it this way, but I'm going to bring this one to you because it makes sense. I just hadn't thought of it in these terms. Is a lot of times what holds us back is our affiliations with family, with people, with friends, with society, because sometimes when we change, right, and we really become true to ourselves, right?
Yes.
It means that other people don't vibe with that anymore.
Right.
Right. And that's
now I'm
hard.
surrounding myself with, better, more uplifting people. And that's, really helped me a lot on my
Yeah.
path as well too. Is
Yeah.
just realizing it's the people who we're around, getting away from those toxic situations, getting away
Amen.
from
Yeah.
other people who aren't wanting to grow and become more, aware of their doings.
Yeah. Exactly. And these guides are letting you know that when you get out there and ride that motorcycle and go, vroom, you may feel like you're alone, but you're not. You have a whole tribe of us. We're all riding with you. And they say both human and spirit friends, and more are going to come. And it's just that you're stepping onto a new path now, and stepping into like the word that comes through for you is vibration, energy, way of being.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, there's going to be some loss of other people, that you're not going to be playing the game that they want to play anymore. And so it's gonna, but the gains are going to be a million times worth it. And some of them will come around, right? But probably it'll be at a distance.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
And
very much so.
and the last
Especially
thing,
my personal life and, things along
Yeah.
those lines. It's,
Yeah.
it's been quite significant of, I'm trying to go on my own growing journey and trying to heal and be a better person and things along those lines, and not having the down talk and in the background and things, having a little bit more freedom of, being uplifted and
Yeah.
not feeling so dragged down all the time. Like I have the weight of everybody else on my shoulders.
Yeah. And when I see people ride motorcycles, you know what I don't see? I don't see them carrying like their families and their friends and their like they're just, this particularly for you is a solo ride. Maybe, if you have an aligned partner, you can ride together. But for right now, I feel like, you might ride side by side because you really you want to hit the road and have some freedom and some joy.
Right.
Okay.
And not having a bunch of baggage on the way, or carrying, 50-pound backpack on my back. It's, something slim and easy and quick, and yes.
Yeah. And just have fun. They just keep saying, have fun, and just follow your natural inclinations, because they just keep saying you're very wise. You're very smart, and like, you're just not going to mess it up. They're
Okay.
like, you may not do things the way other people think you should do them, but that's irrelevant. That's not a mistake. That's a choice.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, very much so, because I've drastically changed my world recently, and,
I know.
moved 2,300 miles away and starting my life over again. So it's a great feeling. And
so do you have a motorcycle?
I do not. It's funny though, because I have contemplated multiple times taking a class and getting my license though, because I used to when I was much younger. But I know the danger of them as well too. So that's my wise self knowing that is that the best thing for me.
Again, I'm certainly not going to tell you what to do, because That is your choice. I'm terrified of motors. I mean, not terrified. I would never ride a motorcycle. So, but the one thing that they're saying, and this is metaphorical. So get the motorcycle, don't get the motorcycle, do what you want to do. But remember that you're in the hands of the universe, right? You're in the hands of the universe, and you're loved and you're supported. And even if the motorcycle careens off the cliff, like, you're still safe, you're still supported. You're just probably going to leave this body and but you're still going to be okay.
In every scenario, I
but-
always feel protected.
Yeah, exactly. But they want you to know in this particular scenario, whether it applies to a motorcycle or not, and please, you do you, because I take zero responsibility here. But they just want you to know it's safe. You're safe. You can take the risk. You're really wise. You're really smart. You have really good instincts. That's what they've been saying the whole time. You just don't need to worry. And so part of this is also leaving other people's fear at the door.
That's great to know.
Okay. Trust in yourself, trust in the universe, and you'll know, like, our instincts will tell us, right? But there really isn't anything to be afraid of anyway. Sending
Thank
you
you.
a ton of love, my friend. I'm excited to hear more about your journey, or just excited for you on your journey. And they just want
Thank
you to
you
know,
so much.
and have fun playing with your guides.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
All right.
Becky. All right. April, would you care to join us, please?
Hello. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you today?
Good. Doing well. As good as I can. No.
Okay.
I have a lot of pressing things on my mind, but just to throw some out there, a man as of today, what that situation looks like, baby, marriage in my future, to somebody I know, don't know, and also my health. I've actually been bringing my spirit guides in to my life for the past 2 weeks a lot due to my health, and I guess I'm really open to anything and whatever they want to tell me, or whatever you want to tell me through them, and go from there.
Okay. So I'm not a medical intuitive, but as soon as you say health, and as soon as you say you've been calling your guides want you to know that they're there. They're like, I've been hearing you. They've been hearing you. They're supporting you. They know this is difficult for you. And it is really helpful and good that you're using your intuition in this situation. Okay. And they just want to encourage that. They want to let you know, for you, a lot of times it's notice where your attention is drawn. Like, if you're sitting there and you're looking at lab results, and all of a sudden your eyes focus in on like one particular number. Okay. Maybe that just happened. That's your guide saying, look at that. Look at that. That's the thing to pay attention to. Okay. And they've been doing that a lot. They also say, fear not, because if you have doctors or practitioners, they're doing their best. Sometimes doctors and practitioners can be a little hard to reach, but they're also doing their best. Our guides can get into other people's minds as well. Like, they can support us in many ways. And so they are doing what they can to like affect cooperation, they say, in the other people, on the human beings on your medical team. Okay. And they're telling me too that the situation will be resolved very soon. You'll have like a clear answer. You'll know what to do. And I don't know if it's like a really quick fix, but I think right now for you, just having a direction of like kind of knowing what's going on and knowing where to go will be like a huge relief.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can, once you have that, then you can kind of tune into different channels and figure out, okay, like, what's the best treatment for this? What's the best thing to do with this? The one caution that I would give you is, the medical system in our country now, and again, I'm not telling you not to see doctors, they're great. Follow your intuition for treatment, but it's important to not, the way that things are often phrased and explained and understood, it's very fear-based. It's very heavy. It's very negative. Doctors even learn, like, if they do everything and they tell you everything that could go wrong, then you won't be mad at them later and sue them, right? For giving, they don't want to give you false hope. But in the process, sometimes they kind of deprive you of your agency and your optimism. And so please don't let that happen to you. I don't think that will, because I think that the diagnosis or whatever that you're going to get is going to be so much better than what you thought it could be, that you're going to be like dancing the jig. But just be aware, like whatever a diagnosis is, like don't internalize the worst case scenario, right? Just look at it. Okay, I have this information. Now what do I want to do about it? And again, I don't feel anything life-threatening, or I just feel like something kind of chronic that once they know what it is, they're going to start to treat it and deal with it. But you may want to have a couple different approaches to get it done. Does that resonate? Does that make sense?
That's perfect. Yep.
Yeah. And your guides say they're already, it's just, they say call them in anytime, because and this is for everyone. Calling our guides in does a couple things. Number one, it reminds us that they're there. Right. And when we remember that they're there, then we we've opened that conduit or that pipeline for ourselves to hear them and to connect with them. Two, it reminds us that we're supported. And when we feel supported and loved and not alone on this human journey, it brings us peace, right? It makes us feel a little bit better. And that's a great vibration. It's a much better vibration to operate your life with. And they're happy to do it for you, because in fact, they are there. They do love you. They are supporting you. They are rooting for you. They are cheering you on. They think you're the bee's knees. And so they love it when you can feel that with them, because that's their job. Okay. And they say with you in particular, every time that you ask for them, you then begin to listen for them, and that you're hearing them increasingly well. Okay.
Perfect. Yep.
How many more people do we have? Can I hit up her second question? Do I have time?
We
Allison?
have one more, Victoria.
Okay, then I can hit up her second question. Beautiful. Okay, so her second question is, we want to know about a man and the man situation. So I am not a future predictor kind of psychic, and you wouldn't really want me to be one. Because, I could tell you something you didn't want to know, which I would never do. And I don't see anything that you don't want to know. And, for you, again, it's the self-love journey. It's the knowing that you deserve it. And my read is, but I could be wrong, that sometimes you may go after the ones that don't like you. Not like you, but the unreachable ones. Because I can't see how anyone wouldn't like you. You're awesome. But do you know what I mean? The ones that are a little remote, a little removed. Okay. It's an old pattern. Okay. It probably has nothing to do with the guy, but I mean, it does now. But so I'd really like you to open your heart and just remind yourself that the one that really likes me is not a loser. The ones that really like me, like that's the one I actually want in my bed, in my life, in my court. The one that's really excited about all the same things that I am, the one that's really interested in me, the one that's like really excited. Because I think, if I'm reading you correctly, and I could be wrong, but I think there's a little bit of that, wanting to be in the club that doesn't want to have you as a member kind of thing. And you don't want to be in that club. You don't want to be in that club. And that isn't a better club. It's just the wrong club. And the person that wants to be in that club and always be like, maybe I'll let you in. Maybe I won't let you in. Well, maybe you can sit there, but you can't come into this room. Like, that person is operating on a bandwidth of ego that really doesn't serve you. Okay. And it doesn't serve them either. Someone who gets satisfied in that kind of relationship is looking for something very different than what your heart, you want a partner. You want someone, I feel you want to get married, and you want to have someone that's like warm and mushy and smushy and so I want you to open yourself up to that. And if somebody isn't celebrating you the way that you want to be celebrated, then they're not for you. If you feel like you have to change yourself to be with someone, I mean, if you have really bad breath in the morning, brush your teeth. But, beyond that, and eventually it won't matter. Trust me, I was married 30 years. But, for now, you can brush. I brushed my teeth, but you get the idea. But does that make sense? Because I feel like the more that you can celebrate you and just know that the one that's really interested in me is the one I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Sending you so much love. I hope this was helpful. Good luck with your medical journey. And it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, April. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, Joanna is our last participant. Right?
Perfection.
Great.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Good
Joanna.
evening.
Hello, good evening. Sorry. If I'll turn my camera off. Uh,
Okay.
yep. Nice to meet you, Victoria, and thank you,
Nice to meet
Allison,
you.
for the
Okay.
introduction. So for me, I would say lately has been heavy, emotionally, spiritually, everything, because I would say my dad is sick, and it has put a stall on my mental health. I would say it's like I'm not sure what the messages are meant for me, but I'm also afraid of what the future holds. So I have this panic attack or anxiety attack every time. Even though I try to sleep, I try to listen to calming songs. It's very heavy. It's very different.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to just take a breath, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of energy in your bubble and a little bit of containment. Ooh, there's a lot of anger in your space, like a lot of anger, like rage in your space. Okay. And I don't know if this is your frustration, if this is somebody else, if this is unresolved stuff from your relationship with your father or somebody else, but that's what I feel in your space. Just this really like uncontrollable anger. And that, I believe, is what's causing the anxiety. Does that resonate at all?
Yeah, at some point.
Okay. Okay. So it's making peace with that. It's whatever you need to do. I don't get the sense that you're a ragey person. So I think it's either like that feeling in you that you're afraid of, or unresolved other issues or other people that have behaved like that. And it's coming up now in this time. But that's what I see. And the trick is going to be, first of all, your guides say, this is a very stressful and difficult situation. So to some degree, you kind of have to allow that this is going to be a little disruptive of your life right now. And I feel like some of that is like you may be being asked to do things that you don't think you should have to do, or things like that could be some of the anger. Anger is always a sign that often, not always, but often a sign that a boundary's been crossed or pushed, right? Or anger wants us to set a boundary. So it's helpful to at least listen to it. Okay. You don't always have to follow it. Right? Sometimes someone cuts me off in traffic and I get afraid, but I don't slam into their car. I typically don't honk my horn unless it's for safety. I might give them the finger, but I do it under the dashboard. It just makes me feel better. Right?
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? But I do acknowledge the feeling, ooh, that scared me. That was a scary thing that just happened. Or, ooh, I didn't like that because, like I wanted to go next. Or whatever. So part of it is just being present with it. And then once we're present with that feeling, we can decide. Okay. Right now, I feel like your boundaries have been like shot out. So half of your auric field is just like, it's gone. So that also makes you like very, like, I just don't think that you even know how to navigate the situation, the people involved, or to say no or whatever. So part of it is just, this is, the guides say this is your trial by fire. Okay. And it's kind of where you are, and it will get better. And it's not necessary, but it's just where you happen to find yourself right now. But the first thing to do is just recognize it's not going to last forever. And there's tremendous growth potential here. Okay. And a lot of the growth potential is around how you relate to yourself and how you relate to others. Okay. And the message is you don't need to fear that anger anymore. Like just bring that part home is what they say. Bring that part home. Okay.
Oh.
And just like let it feel what it needs to feel. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does.
And, you know, there is, I'm going to just muscle test this. Yeah. You know, again, longer conversation. But, you know, if, you know, you're feeling very disrupted emotionally and stuff like that, there is a great therapy tool, not one that I'm trained in, but one that would be really nice for you, internal family systems. You may want to seek that out. But I think the bigger thing for you is to identify what you want in this situation for yourself, to understand that no parent, ultimately, sometimes we have a lot of confusion, and I know there's different cultural things that say otherwise, but ultimately every parent really wants their children to thrive, right?
Yep.
And so if someone is confused right now, or a bunch of people are confused right now and says, you need to like lie down and not thrive right now because we're miserable, you know, that's not really fair to you. And that's what I think you're feeling really angry about, if I'm reading the situation correctly. And
Yes.
okay. And only you can know that because I'm not there. But so first of all, to acknowledge what you really want, you know, you may like write it down. You may yell at the mirror, you know, like get it off. Even if you don't say it to them, saying it to yourself will help so much. And then you may decide to make some compromises or to do some things. But like we were talking before, I can't remember who's who, but the motorcycle person, we are starting to get at that point. So my right and left brain don't always work well together when I'm in this state. But, you know, the hardest thing sometimes is hearing our truth when people around us have a loud truth that's very different from ours. Okay. Particularly when those are family members or people that raised us, because at a certain point, right, they got to decide what was true and what the rules were. Right. And sometimes in some cultures, they still get to decide, you know, but it doesn't feel right and good to you. That's important. It's important that you honor that. It's not bad to be angry at a parent. It's not disrespectful, right? It's you feeling what you're feeling in a situation. Okay. And you really need to know that. Now you can act in different ways, right? Like I said, it's normal to get mad when someone cuts you off. It's not normal to get out of your car and like start, you know, firing guns on them. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. Right? But there's a lot of choices that you have between those two extremes. Okay? And even if you're guarding little bits of yourself, even if you're making excuses and giving a little more time to yourself, I think that will help. But mostly it feels like the energy that I feel, it's almost like, God, it's like you're bleeding out. It's like half of your body's been chopped off and you're bleeding out in an effort to save people that, you know, your blood isn't going to help them. It's not a transfusion. It's just like, hey, we're suffering, so let us cut you in half and, you know, wash your blood, wash over us kind of deal. And it's not helping anyone, but very most importantly, it's not helping you. So the more that you could step out of the situation, you know, and just start to get in touch with what you feel, what you need, even in little bits, I think it's going to be really helpful for you. And that's what you're being guided to learn here. But I do feel that it's a complicated enough situation that you may want some therapeutic support. You might want somebody like outside of this to help you manage the emotions and to help you see things from a way that I don't think you've seen them yet before. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense? I'm sending
Yes,
you
absolutely.
so much love, so much love. And your guides just want you to know they're with you and they love you and you're doing a really good job. And again, they say this is a huge growth opportunity for you. It really, truly is, as hard as it is. So get the support that you need, my friend, and you'll knock this one out of the park. But they say they're so sorry. They know it's really hard.
Thank you so much.
Mwah. Sending you so much love.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
All
Jen.
right. All right. We have a couple more seconds. If we do, the guys want to, I'm going to let everybody go. And the guys want to just share some closing words because they're saying that one of the themes that came out today was around self and others, right? And how important it is. And I think I brought this one up before here. I know I talk about it all the time, but I'm going to keep going because they don't want me to interrupt. So often we feel and they say this applies to every single person today on some level. They say, oftentimes we feel that it's a choice between our perspective and someone else's, right? Meaning we have a choice between honoring ourselves, what we feel, what we want, right? And, trusting or believing in somebody else, right? But you see, it's not a choice between being right or wrong. And I want to get this right from the guides, it's an understanding that we all have unique and different perspectives. And that a lot of the conditioned, right? So the common ways that we've learned to relate in this world are not super aligned. They're super egoic. They're based on fear and scarcity and confusion and trying to control life, as we talked about before, in ways that will take you out of alignment. But many people, many, many, many people live their lives that way, and it's fine. It's fine for them. It's working for them, but it may not be working for you. And so part of this journey of coming home to ourselves sometimes is recognizing other people aren't wrong, but their perspectives and their way of doing things is just not right for me. Okay? And when we have that understanding, this doesn't feel right to me, this doesn't feel good to me, we don't have to fight with anybody else anymore. We don't have to try to control other people and get them to think what we think. And more importantly, for the people on this call, we don't have that internal war with ourselves where we know what feels right and good, but the people around us have told us that what we think feels right and good to us is wrong. And then we're fighting inside, right? Because part of us knows that we can align with that deeper truth. And part of us hasn't allowed ourselves or doesn't feel safe to do it yet. So I think the takeaway message from today's readings is honor yourself, be true to yourself. Not in the sense of saying anyone else is wrong, but in listening to yourself and honoring yourself and trusting yourself more deeply, because your perspective matters. And if something doesn't feel good or something doesn't feel right to you, it's at least worth a second look, right? If not, a change in situation or behaviors or whatever, right? Because you have all the answers within you, right? And your heart knows, and your soul knows, and you always have your intuitive guidance to show you. And what other people think is, honest to God, 100% none of your business, right? You can take it under consideration if you're curious. And of course, you can always be kind, right? Without compromising yourself, but you can always, aim to minimize any negative impact on others, but not at your own expense. All right. That's all I got.
That's all.
Thank you.
That's just that.
That's it.
Yeah. And remember too, that these are short, 10, 15-minute readings. I love doing the work that I do. I know that, hopefully a lot of wisdom was passed on today, but remember too, like sometimes, you don't be afraid to seek support, beyond these kinds of things. Cause I know for some people today, additional support, will be really helpful, and no man's an island. We all need it.
You gave us some deep, deep well water to drink from tonight.
Okay, good. I hope it's good.
Yeah, I was being, facetious.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Okay.
No, that was very powerful. And as always, something that resonates so deeply once we allow it, if ears to hear, the deep breath to inhale, and absolutely beautiful.
Right.
Thank you so much
All right.
for wisdom shared tonight.
Beautifulness.
Thank
See
you.
everyone next week.
Yep. Episode 11. See
Okay.
you. Good
Namaste.
night.
Bye.
Welcome to Ask Your Spirit Guides with Dr. Victoria Shaw, your weekly gateway to divine guidance and soul alignment. Each week, intuitive counselor and spiritual teacher Dr. Victoria Shaw connects with spirit to bring through live channeled messages from your personal guides, offering clarity, healing, and support on your journey. Whether you receive a personal reading or simply tune in, know that every episode delivers a powerful energetic transmission meant just for you. We're live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific on SoulSearch TV, streaming online on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our mobile app. Take a deep breath, open your heart, and prepare to receive. This is Ask Your Spirit Guides, and your journey starts now.